So, I guess I'm having one of those what is the point of YouTube moments. I've been, I guess, on and off the tubes now, for a while, kind of coming and going, and just I don't know what I'm doing here, what the point of all of this is. There was a time, I guess, when I felt like it made sense. There were arguments. It felt like there were arguments, and I felt like there was discussion. And when you take a couple of days away, if you're gone, if you don't check the tubes for a while, or if you just come in and you look and then you go away, you don't really spend any time here, and then you come back, it just seems so much like melodrama. It seems petty squabbles over who took who in what way and who got offended and who hasn't been paid attention to and who's getting too many views and how unjustified is whatever. Someone's being privileged over someone else. It's hard to see the arguments. It looks like just endless identity politics and personal attacks, people taking things so personally. And I mean, maybe that's the issue. Maybe that is the issue. What is it about ideas? What is it about this arena for ideas that makes people get so emotionally riled up, so defensive, so irritated? You know, there's so much ego and posturing and one-upsmanship and people telling each other who's who and tons of people leaving snarky comments just on, and it's not my videos, it is my videos, but it's not just my videos, it's everybody's videos. It's like you can't go to a video and not find, you can't not find some snarky person saying something rude. What is that? It's like verbal vandalism everywhere. It's screams of irrelevance. People locked up trying to be powerful by saying something that they think is going to get a rise out of other people. Or maybe they imagine they're posting it while they're sort of straightening their tie in front of a mirror and sort of imagining how other people will see them when they see that comment. I mean, what is it? It's really quite fascinating. I wonder too about irrelevance. And it's not clear. I don't have the answers, obviously. I don't think anyone does. But it's like there's a tension between the narrative literary structure that was provided by the book and by narrative orientation, the continuity of how things fit together and notions of stories, everything from just fairy tales to the ongoing narrative, of how things make sense in an unfolding, how the parts all come together. It's like all that's disappearing. There's this lateral clicking from thing to thing, and it's just a sea of irrelevant information. I heard someone, I think it was Conference Report, say that, and I don't know if this is true, but it's probably true, like 60 hours of YouTube video is now uploaded per minute onto the tubes. What will that mean? No one will ever be able to attend to it all, and it's as if, and it's not just on YouTube. It's everywhere. It's Wikipedia pages. It's on Facebook, and people are streaming down Facebook feeds, and it's one thing, and the only connection that it has to the next thing is that it's just there in the stream. It doesn't have coherence. It's not organized. It doesn't really make sense. It's just this disconnected, I don't know, scattered everywhere information. I think I've said to people before, I grew up out in the sticks of Wisconsin, outside. I didn't grow up with television. I didn't really grow up with the media. I didn't grow up with a computer, to tell you the truth. I had a little typewriter my parents gave to me when I went off to college. It had one with little 16 characters display that you could see before it would print out, before it would get typed out on the page. Um, and I look at, my own sense of relevance and purpose and meaningfulness in my life. It's as if, for me, the meaningfulness comes from having a purpose, and it's not like a goal in the world. It has to do with a goal about your sense of self, your sense of character, your sense of development. But it can have multiple goals, but it has to be about self-disciplined, focused orientation toward those goals. Once you have those goals, it's like where to where to place each thing in the hierarchy of duties. There's sometimes a line where, unless you have a vision of the end result, you don't know where to place each stone. It just seems like the information overload is it's just promoting senses of irrelevance, indifference, anonymous poo-flinging, and then I think the over-emotional melodrama. Maybe that's a way for people to try to turn this into something relevant. There's a bunch of strangers talking about abstract stuff that nobody has the facts for, and people are getting all, beating their chest defensive about the stuff. It's just absolutely fascinating. Is it cloaked melodrama for the sake of some sense of relevance, that this information is important and means something? It's sort of like people oftentimes, they over dramatically talk about their woes and their struggles and their strife, and they say, oh, life is so demanding and it has this and that, and I'm really struggling to get through with this. And it's true. I think we're all struggling. We have health issues. Family have health issues. There are concerns about employment, all these kind of things, and yet that's a fact, which is very different than the talking about that fact. It's like the talking about the fact it's an ongoing selling of a kind of narrative by which heroism becomes more possible. And again, I guess the tension is sort of between the book culture orientation. I mean, it's like the book culture has coherence and order and fidelity and these kinds of properties where various, I don't know, various elements, they're brought together into a whole, and you begin, and even if there are certain lapses and gaps and places where it fizzles off, in general there's a coherence there. So much of the electric media, so much of the internet and the online experience, it doesn't have any of those characteristics. It has this rhizomatic, right? It's like crabgrass just cropping up laterally, and you link from link to link to link to link, and instead of depth exploration and development and growth along a line, instead it's this surface skimming from place to place, and you can so easily end up, it's hard to describe, but you're unrelated to where you began. The coherence seems gone. I remember when I grew up, we had a television in my family's, in the house, but there was no remote control. You got up and you turned the station, and you were going to sit down and you were going to watch a show or whatever. And then the remote control, my grandfather, I remember, he had a remote control, and my grandfather was disabled, and so I guess as a kid, I associated the remote control with a disability, and I remember even, watching then other people and then as the remote control got more popular, and it started to take over everywhere, and I watch other people just sit around and flick through channels, and I think I associated it with this real kind of laziness, like, why are you using a remote control? You don't need that. Get up and change this channel, and now you're flicking around. And that experience of just flicking around, waiting for a stranger to tell you will interest you. It's like you don't have any goals, you don't have any orientations, you don't have real questions that you're actually trying to achieve. Instead, you're waiting for a stranger to give some information to pique your interest and tell you, is this what you want to follow? No, maybe this is what you were looking for. Maybe this is what you're after. Is this the piece of information that you would like to look at right now for the moment? I mean, how can one build a coherent life out of that? I don't know. I mean, maybe the problem is there is disorder. Maybe the problem is it's overdrawn expectations compared to book culture. I'm not sure. My own experience, though, is that I struggle to find the relevance. If I have a question, or if some person, if they come on the YouTube, or if they come onto the tubes and they come on the internet and they have certain questions and they want to answer those and get some, I guess, some meaningful direction for what they're doing with their lives, who they're trying to become, what they're trying to make of this very limited time that they have to be whoever they're going to become. That is again very different than sitting around with the comfortable indifference of wanting a stranger to tell you what you should be interested in right now. Or I guess the flight from the felt irrelevance of all of this by making a bunch of melodrama and banging a gong and freaking out as if any of this is more important than it is, only an attempt to try to prove that this information is relevant in some way. I'm sorry if all this sounds bleak, or maybe I'm in a bad mood or something, but those are thoughts of the day. Yeah, thanks.